I'm usually not one to comment on Mario Kart character rosters because outside of the games with special items, I feel that they rarely ever impact gameplay that much. But well, I just couldn't resist myself this time. Like, if you showed me a picture of a playable Pianta just 1 week ago, I would have found that pretty crazy. But today, I'm kind of just staring at this character roster and saying to myself, Pianta's not even a top 10 unserious character in this list. I mean, look at the bottom half of this roster. This is absolutely insane, and everything we fought wasn't even remotely possible. It was a shifting of the Mario Kart Overton window. I'm looking at my guy Penguin now, thinking about how much of a crime it is that they didn't add Ukiki alongside with him. And if someone were to tell me with a straight face that Gilbord and his Billboard alt costume got robbed now, I wouldn't even be able to tell them that they sound ridiculous anymore, because there's just a playable sidestepper. Who is to say that any complaint is invalid now? So, today is going to act as my official commentary on our character roster, and personally, I'm all in. I think this is better and way funnier than having some kind of Nintendo Kart or Smash Kart timeline, and regardless of whatever the meta combo ends up being, and yes, I promise you there will be one, there are going to be multiple troll character options to pick from in whatever weight class ends up being the best. So while everyone celebrates today, I just want to make something clear. Don't say I didn't warn you when the meta is full of conch-door tryhards staring you down like this after every hit in a year. One of these beloved additions today will have some people longing for the Waluigi era in a year or two, saying that at least he was a real character. The big question is just, who do we think it's going to be? But what I really want to talk about today is a little bit of a personal insight, and something a few of my friends have noticed too. These character additions appear to be kind of random at first, but weirdly, it does not look to be a coincidence. Because while all of these wacky new additions aren't related in the same way that the Kooplings were, there is something that ties most of these critters together. The fact that they're all enemies. Well, except for Pianta, I suppose, but hey, for all we know, maybe the playable one is a Chuckster. He's probably killed Mario more often than half of these enemies to begin with. Perhaps more importantly though, a lot of these characters are common road hazards in the Mario Kart series. This is most apparent with Goombas, which are featured on plenty of stages in each game, but the characters that interest me more are the ones that have been used more sparingly. This is because I think these are the ones that tell us something about the track selection of this game. For instance, Pokies have been surprisingly only used 3 times in the series, that being on Dry Dry Desert, Dry Dry Ruins, and Desert Hills. Now, is it a coincidence that seemingly against all odds, Desert Hills is also returning as a retro track here? I mean, probably one would think. It's not exactly the most surprising thing that's ever happened in a new Mario Kart game before. But then you look at a few other playable characters, like the Rocky Wrench, an enemy that's notorious for its appearances on the airship levels of Super Mario Bros. 3. And of course, this translated to its main appearance in the Mario Kart series being on Airship Fortress, which is another track returning in Mario Kart World. It makes sense that Airship Fortress is in. An airship level naturally fits into a Mario-inspired world, and fans were very vocal about its absence in the Booster Pass. It is a fan favorite after all, just like Toad's Factory, which also made its way in. But can the same be said about something like Peach Beach, for instance? Now, Peach Beach is by no means a hated course, but it is a somewhat odd inclusion. Its notable hazard, of course, is the Cataquack, an enemy that hasn't appeared in any new game since the 2000s. But now we have a playable one in Mario Kart World, which I find interesting. And of course there's Moo Moo Meadows as well. Now, I know people are chill with Moo Moo Meadows, but I certainly wouldn't call it a fan favorite. And considering it was a retro track selection in Mario Kart 8 for the last decade now, and no other track from the base 48 tracks of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe has returned yet, I feel as if the course is the strangest addition to Mario Kart World up to this point. It feels as if Nintendo clearly didn't want to put in the Mario Kart 8 courses that we've all been playing for the last decade, given the omission of every new Wii U era Mario Kart 8 course. There are no priority retros, if you will, but it seems that they really wanted to make the Moo Moo Cow a prominent part of their trailer. Of course, and I should really emphasize this, that doesn't mean that Moo Moo Meadows had to return, but it did, and that makes me think that this, alongside the other characters and track connections we've discussed, is no coincidence. There's even more though. There's somehow a playable Fishbone, an enemy whose prominent appearance in Mario Kart was on its debut in Wario Shipyard, another track that's also returned in Mario Kart World. That course also had Sidesteppers as an enemy as well in the past, and guess who's also in the roster? There's a playable Snowman. A snowman! Like, what track in the series were snowmen most notable on? Well, when I think of that, I think of the DS mission mode level with DK Pass, where there's a bunch of them on the backwards level. And I should say that that's now the second time returning DK Pass, as it is also in Mario Kart World. When I started making all these connections, I started coping a little bit for Banshee Boardwalk, as someone who's pretty fond of it, and I was kind of hoping it could be a hidden track. That track is of course known for its giant Cheep Cheep, but it also had the swoops in the Haunted House section of the DS remake. Since I had that thought though, Choco Mountain, a track containing swoops, has been found in the game. And also, we know definitively now that the Koopa Troopa Beach in this game is based on the SNES courses, and Koopa Beach 1 and 2 both contain some Cheep Cheeps back in the original game as well. It seems like for practically every confirmed retro track, if the track had a notable stage hazard, that stage hazard is now playable. And for the characters making their series debut, I think they might be making some similar appearances as well. I saw the conch doors were added to Desert Hills, for instance, and caught some footage of some Charge and Chucks throwing footballs onto one of the roads. Perhaps this guy will find his way into the Boo Cinema level. I think I might have actually seen that at one part. And maybe the Piantas will have a role on Peach Beach this time beyond just being spectators. It feels unlikely, but they haven't shown the other side of the track yet, so who knows. Now, my initial thought was that maybe the character roster could actually be hiding a few hidden tracks, or vice versa. And that would certainly be a fun topic for YouTube. This would be good news for Dolphin Shoals fans, or perhaps fans of the Honeybee Hive battle stage from Mario Kart 7. But if anything, my main takeaway from all of this is that it kind of indicates to me that maybe there aren't a lot of courses left in hiding. If Airship Fortress wasn't revealed yet, and I saw a playable Rocky Wrench after seeing the connections with the other characters in confirmed tracks, I'd be thinking that maybe it would be a possibility to return. But there are not many remaining connections that are super obvious. It feels like they've hit them all already. Yes, I know that there are, well, dolphins on Dolphin Shoals, but given its status as a Wii U track, and how little the dolphins actually impact the races, I can't say I think it'll show up. Especially when considering that I've already said that I feel that 32 tracks only is quite plausible. Still, I don't think this was all a coincidence, though. Moo Moo Meadows returning is just too much of a head-scratcher. But the question is, why set it up this way? Why all of these guys over PD Piranha, Diddy Kong, or even the Kooplings? You're telling me that Kamek couldn't even make a 50-plus character roster? Well, I think that perhaps Kamek is the answer entirely. We've seen that there's a Magic Koopa item now, and the function of this item is entirely new. In some instances, I've seen him set up more road hazards on a track that players must dodge, including enemies that are on the main character roster already. But at other times, I've also seen him transform the player character into the course hazard character altogether, and many are speculating that this is actually how many characters are unlocked throughout this game. I wonder if this is just like an offline feature or something, or if Kamek will be a notable part of the multiplayer experience too. But I imagine he will be, similar to how coins still had multiple effects in the recent games where we had to unlock cart parts, but they also boosted top speed. So I suppose this might answer the question of why so many new drivers are just your standard Mario enemies now. I'm not sure what the actual motive behind this was, if it was just because they thought that Kamek was maybe a cool idea or an interesting mechanic, maybe they actually wanted these characters in the game, or perhaps they felt that it would make the world feel more alive if all of these enemies were naturally on the tracks. But regardless of what the truth might be, it can get us into the head of the devs a bit. But unfortunately, it seems like it lines up with the idea that there might not be many more hidden courses, but perhaps it is still a cause for some celebration. Because many people care about the character roster in these games quite a lot, and I've hated seeing all the clone characters over the years. Personally, I was never a Koopling hater. I never really saw them as clones given their distinct personalities, but I understand how they were linked together. I never thought they got in the way of a big character roster to begin with, and Tour even proved that once there was, well, cash incentive to have more characters. But regardless of the logic or reasons as to why we got here, we have Toad's Factory. We got Airship Fortress back. N64 Wario Stadium finally got its moment. And we finally have a large character selection in a mainline console game with barely any clone characters either. Nintendo has listened to the fans. So what does it all mean for us going forward? Well, I'll just say that I look forward to riding in the streets with everyone over the chimp being snubbed down the road. Because if a coin coffer can now become playable, nothing is unreasonable anymore.